Right. Genesis 22, we are cruising along. It says, God commands Abraham to take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah, sacrifice him there as a burnt offering. Now imagine how confusing this must have been for Abraham. He's told that he's to become an ancestor of a multitude of nations, but Ishmael's been sent away with Hagar, and at this point, his only son left, Isaac, is supposed to be offered as a sacrifice. Now, Abraham, you can see his continual faith. Not only did he leave his land to go to the land that God called him to, he had to have enough faith that God would provide him with a son with his wife Sarah. So Abraham in this moment sets out to do again what God asks. Abraham and Isaac travel to Mount Moriah. Now, when they get to their destination, Isaac notices that there's no animal to sacrifice, and Abraham reassures his son, God will provide. Think of the faith of both Abraham and Isaac. Abraham's blind faith that somehow God will provide, and then Isaac submitting to the will of his father. It then says that Abraham ties up Isaac and lays him down on top of the wood, and Abraham raises his hand to kill his son. And fortunately, the Lord intervenes and says, hey, do not lay a hand on the boy. I'm going to back up just a moment, though. If you didn't catch this, in chapter 22, verse 2, it doesn't necessarily say, slay your son. It says, prepare him, offer him as a sacrifice. So just catch that note. Anyway, so Abraham goes to slay his son, and the Lord intervenes, and the Lord provides the sacrifice. It was a ram, if you read the story. So Isaac's life was saved because God provided this other life, this sacrifice. And think about that. This is the first time the Bible mentions a life for a life. And that has a deep meaning because it does parallel the coming of Jesus. God providing a life, a sacrifice for our life, for my life, for your life. Again, God providing a life for a life. I'm going to read the book of Hebrews. It's in the New Testament, Hebrews chapter 11, verse 17. By faith, Abraham, when God tested him, offered Isaac as a sacrifice. He who had embraced the promises was about to sacrifice his one and only son, even though God had said to him, it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. Abraham reasoned that God could even raise the dead. And that means something to both you and I. Do you believe that Jesus was raised? Abraham had so much faith that he believed, even if I do this, I have enough faith that God would raise my son. That's how much faith Abraham has. And that's the question I want to ask you. Do you believe in the resurrection? Do you believe that Jesus was raised? Because this Bible story has always pointed to Jesus. And here it is. You can see Isaac carrying the wood for his sacrifice, Jesus carrying the cross. And Mount Moriah, where Abraham offered Isaac, is in Jerusalem. We know Jesus was offered as a sacrifice in Jerusalem. All of these signs are pointing to Christ. Take your only son. And if you haven't heard this message, I want to share it with you today. It's in the New Testament. It's John 3:16. It says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. For God did not send the son into the world to judge the world, but that the world might be saved through him. If you believe, you'll be saved. Here we go. That promise to Abraham that all families of the earth will be blessed. Here it is, ultimately fulfilled by Christ, what Christ did for us, so we could be saved through him. God's perfect salvation plan. I just love Abraham's faith, his obedience, his trust, his loyalty in God. I could only ask to have all of those things. I ask that of you guys, to have so much faith. Read this story and believe just as much as Abraham believed, and you will be saved.